New York Times columnist Nicholas Kristof tweeting that the forum, quote, feels like an embarrassment to journalism. Some guy over at CNN says an unnamed NBC executive called Lauer's performance a, quote, disaster. And the New York Times TV critic writing, quote, Lauer loses the war in a battle between the candidates. Howie Kurtz is host of Fox News' Media Buzz. Bill Burton is a former Obama White House deputy press secretary. So I'll start with this. I am friends with Matt Lauer, and I respect Matt Lauer a lot. And I think he's actually doesn't get nearly enough credit for the tough questions he asks on that show. I don't know, Howie. You can't win in this election. You can't win, especially with all due respect to our brethren, the left-wing press, because they want to see you kill Trump. And if you try to throw too much shade at Hillary, then they want to kill you. Your thoughts?
The moderators are big, fat targets these days, and any fair reading would say this. Matt Lauer did a solid job. He threw hardballs at both candidates with one swing and a miss, which we'll get to. And a lot of the criticism from the left is partisan, from people who think Trump's an outrageous liar and that Matt Lauer should have smashed him to smithereens. New York Times, let me read you a news story headline. The columnists are entitled to say what they want. Lauer surrenders to Trump. The guy who asked Trump, can America take the risk of electing a guy who makes so many incendiary comments that you could spark a war?
You know, the amount of opinion that goes into these reports, you know, this is what happens. Even when I had my interview with Trump in May, this was just described by somebody as sycophant, like that I was a sycophant, that I am a Trump sycophant. Like, this is what happens if you don't kill him, Bill. They want every interview to be, kill him, kill him. And it's ridiculous. It wasn't Matt Lauer's job to kill him or her last night. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I've long thought that you were a Trump sycophant, so I'm not surprised you got called out on it.
Fair.
You know, look, I think that, you know, Matt Lauer does do a good job doing interviews on the Today Show, but I think that there's 5 or 6 people ahead of him at NBC who could have done a much better job, more substantive job.
What specifically were you objecting to? What did you not like?
Well, look, I'm not one of the people who complains about the questions to Hillary Clinton about the emails. I think that there are questions out there. I think that people do wonder certain specifics. But as I watched that in real time, I thought, wow, he's been pretty tough on her. This is setting him up to be very tough on Donald Trump as well. The problem was he wasn't. For starters, he constantly interrupted Hillary Clinton. He called her to task for mentioning Donald Trump. He never did those things to Trump during the course of the debate. It was uneven. The performance lacked what the American people, I think, needed in order to make a fair assessment of who would be the better commander-in-chief.
Look, so with Trump, though, if the goal is to make news, right, with this candidate, which generally that is your goal as a news person. Look at all the news he made with Trump. He didn't have to beat him up in the moment. Yes, he could have fact-checked the Iraq War thing, right? But Howie, he got him to say, all the stuff about Putin and all that stuff about the generals and, these emerging positions he's been taking on Iraq. He made a lot of news.
Right, and if it was such a flop of an interview, how is it that we're still talking a day later about the things that Trump said, and that is providing more fodder for the campaign? Now, I do think Matt Lauer fell down on the job because it was predictable that Trump would say, I oppose the Iraq War, and he should have come back. But on other things, there was sustained questioning of Hillary Clinton about the email scandal. The recent Trump controversies about the Trump Foundation contributing improperly to the Attorney General of Florida and the Trump University, those weren't related to national security, so maybe there wasn't the same kind of sustained questioning. But the idea that he laid down for Trump, I really think reflects the hyper-partisanship which all of the moderators, including our colleague Chris Wallace, are going to face in these debates because moderators are targets now, too.
In a way, Wallace will have it easier, Burton, you tell me, because they'll be next to each other. So it's like, have at it. Go for it, you two. When it's just you and the guy, or you and the woman, it's tougher.
Yeah, I think that's right, but I do think that it was unbalanced. It's important to note, even if you just look at the way that the debate opened, or the forum opened, for Hillary Clinton it was the sustained question. For Donald Trump it was, well, please tell me, why would you do such a good job as commander-in-chief?
But that can also be a tactic by an interviewer to get the candidate talking, and with Trump, it's always fascinating when he does. And,
generally, that is true.
There's always a headline, always.